Hey everyone, we're back for our second installment of aprons. Right now we're going to make a kid's apron. Typically when I make kids' aprons, I use a 20 or 40 pound size feed bag. However, for this I've been trying to use the sweet feed bags. I have, to make my life much easier, I made a template and I just trace it out. So when we started out, we washed the feed bag, and just like the adult apron, we cut it open down the center back of the feed bag, folded it in half. I matched up the two side panels, creases. I matched those up, put a pin in it to hold it in place, and then I trace my template. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. So I cut my apron out, all of our pieces, extra pieces of feed bag. We're going to set aside. We're going to keep these for projects for later on. Keep one side or the other that you cut out, preferably not the one with the seam of the bag, this thicker part, because we're going to use this to make our pocket in a little bit. On the arm's eye part of the apron, make 1/2 inch deep slits on both arm's eye. The top of your apron is going to be the top of your feed bag. Go ahead and fold it over and finger press it. You want it about 1/4 inch further from the perforated line of the original feed bag. We are going to start sewing. We're going to sew right down here. When we get to this part, we're going to back our machine up a little bit, drop the needle, hold it in place, and then we're going to fold this part over and continue stitching. And we're going to do this all the way around. That way we have one continuous line of stitching on the apron. When you're stitching, you're going to finger press each of these little tabs down, smooth them down, and continue your stitching all the way through the arm's eye. When you get to the bottom hem of the apron, just continue and do about a 1/2 inch roll up and continue stitching. For a child's apron, you don't really need a very high hem. We're on the last arm's eye for the apron. Make sure you cut this off so you don't run into problems when you get towards the end. I have the entire outline edging of the kid's apron all finished off. Now we're going to take our piece that we cut off, the piece that does not have the bag seam on it, because the bag seam makes it much more difficult to work with. So let's just keep it simple. And I also have a template that I made for the size of pocket that I like to put on a kid's apron. Because of the small size, and you'll be able to tell towards the end of how much smaller this is than the adult apron, I only put one pocket on these rather than trying to squeeze two in. You're going to lay the piece you're going to cut out, lay your template over it. I just trace around it and cut it out. If you want to pin it and cut it that way, you can do it however you want. I'm just going to trace it. Now I have my pocket cut out. This is the top edge of what was the feed bag. So we're going to fold that. Again, about 1/4 past the perforated line from the bag. I finger pressed this down, and then I stitched about a 1/2 inch in both edges. And then I'm going to take scissors and I'm going to clip this at an angle. Both of these are clipped. Now I'm going to turn this right side out. I've turned this right side out and finger pressing this down. Thing to remember with feed bags is that it's a very unforgiving or difficult to manipulate material to use. So you're very rarely are going to get a very crisp corner when you turn it like this. That's alright. There we go. I'm going to stitch this. I stitched this down, folded this a 1/2 inch under. I'm going to do the same here at the bottom and all the way around to create our pocket. I have the pocket all completed. You can see about a 1/2 inch. So now we're going to position our pocket. Again, I'm going to eyeball it. And usually I try to center it between the two bottom points of the arm's eye. Go ahead and pin your pocket in place wherever you would like it. I usually just use the bottom of the apron as a guide. You can put it farther up if you want, whatever, if you're making it for a specific child, you know, wherever is comfortable for them. For me, I make a lot of these and sell them at farmers markets and building our website and stuff like that. So I try to make everything pretty uniform. So you're going to go ahead and stitch this down. You want to make sure you do a couple of tack stitches here and here where the pocket's going to get the most stress. So you're going to stitch it all the way down and across and back up. Pocket's attached, so we can go ahead and take our pin out. Next thing we're going to need is 1.5 yards of ribbon. It can be either satin or grosgrain. You probably don't want it any wider than a 1/2 inch wide. I took my 1.5 yards of ribbon, and you can use more than 1.5 yards. This is just what I typically use. Sometimes I make them a little longer, just depending on the bag, the size of the bag I'm using, or if I'm making them, if I have an order for older kids, so I'll use a little bit more ribbon. But anyhow, you're going to cut it in equal quarters. And then you're going to take a match, a lighter, whatever you have, and you need to melt these edges a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but you need to melt them a little bit so they don't fray, because most of these ribbons are going to fray, and they're going to have, the ribbons are going to have a lot of wear and tear being on an apron. We're going to attach the ribbon to the bottom of the arm's eye first. When you're attaching the ribbon, the easiest thing to remember is you want it to keep flowing out from the arm's eye. So at the bottom of the arm's eye, you want it to flow out this way. And at the top, which is going to be the neck, you're going to have it flow out this way. Oops. On this stitch and on this part, you want to go back and forth, tacking it about 3, maybe 4 times on both ends, because that's where all the tension is going to come in from. So you really want to make sure that that's strong, that that's on there well. I have all 4 ribbons attached for the kid's apron. And we are done. We put our tag on, and our kid's apron is complete. Next up will be the cash apron.